Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the new YouTube channel. This is the very first video on this channel, and so I welcome all of you. Pretty ugly day today. I'm going to start off by saying, looking at the S&P 500, pretty bearish day. Not extremely bearish, but we had a lot of price movement during the day, which would lead me to believe that we still have lower prices ahead of us. So right now I'm looking at 317. Between 317 and 318 price area, possibly even the low of this candle, which is 320, and let's call it 320 50 cents. But as a swing trader, I still want lower prices based on this close. I would definitely want prices maybe even to come all the way down to here, which is between 310 and 314. Sure, at any point we could bounce right off of here, but as a swing trader, I want a little bit better risk to reward at this point now. So just going through some of the questions that people asked me today. There's one stock in particular I want to look at, and it's regarding Tesla. And of course, we saw the earnings report last night. Came out, phenomenal earnings. It ran up, and then it pretty much sold off all day today. And so, looking at Tesla, and also I want to track with the Qs. And so for those of you who are new to trading, this might be a nice tactic that you could use during your intraday price action movements that can give you clues to this might be a sell-off kind of a day. There's other clues, but there's one specific one that I want to talk to you about. For the veterans, this might not be a secret. And so what I'm going to look at first is we're going to start off with Tesla, because I know a lot of people were trading Tesla. A lot of people that asked me questions today were regarding Tesla. And so that's what we're going to start off with. I'm going to go to a 5-minute chart. I don't ever really trade on a 5-minute chart, though it is good to look at. I mean, I'm mostly a swing trader, but if I'm doing day trading, I'll go down to a 5-minute, but I'm usually day trading with a 15 minute, 30 minute. And so what I want to look at here is just looking at Tesla's price action. How can we be more successful? So yesterday we see this after hours killer earnings, and we found resistance right here around 17:16 after hours. And so first thing this morning, I don't actually play earnings. I don't play through earnings. I'll usually sell before the earnings, or I will pick up where I left off the next day, depending on price action. And so what we saw is most earnings are like this. You'll see like an initial reaction, and so last night we saw a reaction going all the way up to 17:16, and then it kind of traded sideways into the night. The market then closed, and then right when a lot of trading became active in the morning, early hours in the morning, we saw like a little bit of sell-off, and then we saw a kind of price rallying up to that point where the sell-off was happening, where the first sell-off took place. And so what I want to focus in on here is if I was trading this, right, and I'm taking a long position. Let's say I want to go long on Tesla. Let's say I was even holding from yesterday. I bought the dip yesterday and I'm writing it through earnings. The first thing that I would notice on a 5-minute chart, and this is where you have to kind of use your judgment as traders, the very first thing I want to focus in on here to give you a clue is this first 5 minutes of the day was a rejection at these prices over here. Now I had 1690 on the chart. I don't actually know if that's what that price went to. It was already on the chart, but let's look here. So I have the high of this big red candle here is 1689. So it didn't even hit 1690. The high of this candle, again, the high of the candle is 1689. And so this is what a rejection looks like. Now, mind you, this is a 5-minute chart. So as new traders might be eyeing this pre-market activity over here, well, hey, there was support in pre-market. Okay, so being there's support in pre-market, I'm going to go ahead and enter right here. So one thing you have to consider though, this red candle, the first 5 minutes of the day, is an extremely bearish candle, mind you, on a 5-minute chart. So maybe it will last, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It can always develop into something bigger, but usually because it's a 5-minute chart, it doesn't have to last that long. So what I want to look at here is if you were trading on that, let's say you entered a trade based on this low over here, because this is what I had a lot of people ask me today. And now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's just focus in on this. So first thing I want you to notice, and I'll try to pull this up like this. First thing, the very first clue as a day trader, if I was going to enter into a position right here, where would I put my stop loss? I'm going to put it below the low of this candle, right? You could even use this candle too if you wanted, but I would prefer the doji candle. The thing is this is pre-market activity, so I don't put a lot of weight in pre-market activity, and usually in a couple minutes from now I'm going to turn off extended hours because I don't actually like looking at it. But let's say I wanted to use this as my example. The first 5 minutes of the day was bearish. The second 5 minutes of the day was almost an indecision candle, but to the downside almost. It was indecision. Price didn't know what it wanted to do. However, look what it did. It consolidated in the inside of this bar. What usually happens after consolidation? A continuation, usually. So what I want you to notice is by the 15th minute of the day, which is this candle here, you already had, first of all, you're already stopped out. You should, I mean, depending on where you put your stop loss, to me, if I put my stop loss there, I would have been stopped out on the close of this candle, which could be very painful depending on what time frame you're trading on. Now, it doesn't mean average down. It doesn't mean buy more, you know. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you guys was that this candle closed underneath this entry. Okay. Now, let's say hypothetically we stayed in the trade and we just wanted to see what would happen. I'm going to go back here. Now I'm going to turn off extended hours. I don't like looking at it. It clutters the chart for me personally. Some people like it. I don't. So, and actually, now that we do that, does the pattern become more clear now? Doesn't the pattern become more clear? Look at the size of this candle. Okay. Now this is a 5-minute chart. And honestly, this could have lasted 10, 15 minutes and then it could have rallied. You know, tomorrow the Tesla could rally. But for what we're doing, this is the chart we're looking at. So you see initial sell-off in the beginning of the day, right? And now what I want to do is you're watching this sell-off. And before you enter the trade into Tesla, what else do we check? What other markets do we look at? Right? And so looking at today's action, we had a gap down. Okay. See if you guys can see that. Price gap down, which doesn't really, it's not the end of the world. We do have support around here. But where's your clue? Your clue is right there. Now, yes, price came below this support over here and then rallied away. So how do you know it's going to turn down? Well, you don't on a 5-minute chart. That's why when we're trading, we don't just look at a 5-minute chart. When we're trading, we want to look at the 15 and we want to see where'd the 15-minute close, which would be technically the same as that 5-minute. That's bearish. And then we had a retracement and then rejection down. Okay, so I'm watching the cues. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Tesla and I'll wrap this up here. Just wanted to show you guys how can we use this in our trading. How can we use candlesticks in our trading? Now, why did this not work? How come this couldn't have been a bullish pattern right here if we were on the 15-minute chart? Well, it could have been, but we still never closed above the high of this candle. First, we started up here, traded down, and then if this was going to be an entry on the bottom, and on a 15-minute chart, price never closed above this breakdown candle here. Never closed above it. So that was another sign. And until that price closes above that candle, to me, it's still not a buy, right? And so then we see a rejection here, and then it kind of trades off all day. Let's look at a... Now, mind you, again, this is all hindsight. It's easy to sit here at the end of the day and go back and look at what could have been, you know, where we were wrong. You know, it's easy to look at the mistakes at the end of the day and say, well, I could have done this and I could have done this. What I'm trying to point out is if you get used to doing these sorts of things, if you get used to it, it'll be easier. It becomes easier and you'll do it in real time. When I'm trading during the day, I look at all time frames. I look at the daily, I look at the hourly, I look at the 2 hourly or the 2 hour. I'm looking at the 15-minute chart. I go through all the time frames because there might be something that I miss. And now that this brings me to the next point. Take earnings out of the equation for a minute. Isn't this a reversal? Is this a lower high? And price couldn't get above it, which would lead me to believe on an hourly, and this is an hourly chart. That's a pretty bearish candle on an hourly chart, which would lead me to believe that lower prices were in order. Today, that did lead me to believe that lower prices were in order. And as each hour passes, notice the closes of the candles. Every time a candle closes, let me clean this up. So if you're in a short trade and you're monitoring the situation, you're on lower time frames because that's where you enter the trade. But at a certain point throughout the day, you could just stop looking at 15-minute chart. You could just go to an hourly chart. Let's try to make the most amount of money out of this as possible. And you know what? Even if I'm in a short trade and I'm shorting this, I'm willing to put my stop loss at the high. As we break through support, I'm willing to put it at the high of the next candle down. Okay? Because I want to give it room. I would rather be stopped out. I would rather price come down and take me out before I take profit down here. I would rather just stop me out of the trade on an hourly chart. Okay? I want to let my winners run, and if I'm getting stop out, I want to take that stop out as quick as I can. And so, one more time, Qs. We could go look at the SPY chart. It's almost the same as the Qs. Same thing on the Qs. High, and on the Qs even we have a lower high, another lower high. Yes, technically these were lower highs and we took those out, but it's still the same idea. Price still couldn't get above 269.79, and then it's in two lower highs, and then we consolidate, and then bearish candles. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I hope this helps. I kind of made it to the point of really got to be looking at all time frames. Again, I know it's not easy. I know, looking back on the day, like of course, it just slaps you in the face now. Looking at that candle on a 15-minute chart, of course it's not this easy in real time. What I'm suggesting is focus in, slow down, take a little bit of capital off the table so it's not as stressful, and pay attention to where these candles are closing, and then just know that if you get a candle that has a really bearish close, chances are you're going to get a little relief rally. If shorts are exiting their positions down here, you get a relief rally and you have another chance to short it. So just try to focus in on as many time frames as you can, even though you might be a day trader or a swing trader or what, different kind of traders have a different kind of plan. So I hope that helped. Thank you guys for struggling through with this first video of mine. I hope that we could grow this channel. That's my goal. I want as many traders to learn all of the tools, tricks, tips, all the things that they can do to become successful. And that is my goal for this channel, is to help as many people as possible. So I hope that we could do that for you today. If you get a chance, subscribe. My goal is to get as many subscribers as we can, and help out the community. And I will try to upload at least once a week. We'll definitely be doing a Sunday 5 p.m. I know it says Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube header, but I'm going to change that to Pacific Time, 5:30 Sundays. Questions and answers, and then it'll give us a chance to look at forward outlook on the market on Sundays. So that'll about do it. Thank you guys.